So we're here today with resident foxbody owner and our sales manager, Matt Henschke, to talk about fox bodies. You love your fox bodies, don't you?
I sure do, unlike you.
I love my fox body, but I like to beat Matt up a little bit because he's always got his projects and he's finding ways to make fox bodies better. I also joke that I think the new cars blow the fox bodies away, but nobody's better to talk to than you today, Matt. So tell us some of the things about how to bring your fox body up to the next level, whether you've owned it since college like me, or you can't keep getting project cars and trying to turn them into something they really aren't.
You can. It's called a foxbody Coyote swap.
Now, one of the first areas we think you should start in is going to be the suspension, right, Matt?
That's right. So if you have a high mileage fox body, which most likely all of them are, you're going to want to start evaluating what you got, look at the control arms, look at the ball joints. A lot of people might want to just replace the bushings, but if you actually replace the entire arms themselves, the arms come with bushings, new poly bushings. The factories have the rubber bushings in there.
Some of these, the hardware is available as well, right?
That's right. All of our kits are rebuildable and come with hardware separately. The arms themselves will come complete with all new polyurethane bushings in them. There's a couple different options you have for the lower control arms.
Yeah, so we've got steel ones, we've got aluminum ones, and for the uppers, right, adjustable, non-adjustable, and then even different bushing durometers. So we've got stiffer bushing durometers in the lower, or you go a little softer, some with rod ends, right, for more of the hardcore applications. So we have a ton of different options to really make sure that the control arms are going to do exactly what you're going to be looking for.
So for your typical beginner in fox bodies, I would suggest the steel lowers. They don't have any adjustability to worry about. You'll set them on our spring and it'll be at that ride height. But I definitely say stick with the adjustable uppers. That way you can dial in and get the proper pinion angle.
Now, pinion angle is something that's going to change once you lower the car, right?
Right.
Okay. Speaking of lowering it, next logical step is probably going to be springs, right?
That's right, our lowering springs. We have our sports springs for the car.
As well as we have coilover setups available as well, right?
We will soon.
It's with our new Steeda Pro Action shocks and struts. So that's one of the other things, right? Got control arms, trying to get replaced some of those worn out rubber bushings, lower the car, give it a better stance. But as far as ride, we just released our brand new Pro Action shocks and struts.
We got our adjustable Pro Actions, and don't be afraid if you're a beginner. We have a video on them as well.
So one of the other key areas that you want to address with the fox body, and we did a video on this recently as well, is chassis stiffening, right? You've got a unibody chassis, but tell us why things like frame rail connectors and G-track braces are so important for the unibody.
The unibody car is basically a frame in the front, a frame in the back, linked together by the floor pan. The floor pan is just sheet metal and it's prone to twist. So you put on the full-length subframe connectors, weld them up here, weld them up in the back. They connect to where the seat mounts. There's a solid cross brace that the seats bolt to really tie it all in.
Now, one of the key things with the frame rails, and what you'll see a lot of times with the older cars, it really helps get rid of a lot of the squeaks and rattles and things like that, because let's face it, this car's been on the road for quite some time now. You're gonna have your fair share of squeaks and rattles, right?
That's right.
So frame rail connector is gonna tie in that unibody. What about under the hood? What's something you could do underneath the hood to really help square up these fox bodies?
So underneath the hood, we have the strut tower brace, because the towers just kind of sit on their own, nothing bracing them. Our strut tower brace will bolt to each tower and the firewall as well, triangulating everything and giving you a nice solid foundation.
And those strut towers, they want to flex, right? Because they got the springs underneath them. So there's a lot of movement that goes on there. And I know from experience, the way the car goes over speed bumps, you name it, is completely changed when you put something like a strut tower brace on there. And quite frankly, that's why so many of these cars nowadays, whether it be the Explorer or the Mustang, they come from the factory with the strut tower braces. So now that we've addressed the control arms, the suspension, and the chassis stiffening, what's the next logical step to get some more enjoyment out of your fox body?
Well, now that we got a nice comfortable ride, we'll get into the engine. Let's face it, these 302s, the old pushrod motors, they're not big on power, but they sound good. So one thing we can do to increase the sound on them is to do an exhaust. Classic brands like Flowmaster sound really good on these cars.
It does have that classic, everybody back in the day knew, oh, He's got 2-chamber Flowmasters on there. Just has a very, very unique sound to him. And you want to try and get this engine to breathe better. And one of the other ways is going to be a heads intake cam package, right?
You can do the heads intake and cam package and get this thing putting down roughly 350 of the tire, depending on which package you go with.
And now that's a lot, because even though the Fox bodies were rated at 225 horsepower, I know that was a lot back then, they probably only made 170, 175 to the tire. So now you do heads intake cam, and you're making over 300 horsepower. That's a lot more horsepower than you started with. So that's why so many cars, once they add the heads intake and cam, they really run really, really strong. I mean, we had a package back in the day, it was our 11-second package. So you're talking about taking a car and shaving several seconds right off that ET. So now, typically speaking, Matt, how much does a heads intake and cam package go for?
Depending on which package you get, which set of heads you get, how complete it is, it can go anywhere from $2,500 upwards of $4,500.
Now, we're talking about almost doubling the horsepower of your car. And that's a lot. We were doing the math the other day before we shot the video, and a Whipple's such a great package, but you're going to be going from a car that makes roughly, what, 400 horsepower to the tires with the new ones, and now you're going to be making over 600-700 horsepower, but you're doubling it with heads intake cam on a Fox body, and then you look at a car that's only 3,100 pounds. It's a huge difference. I mean, you're going to think your car absolutely flies once you do the right heads intake and cam package.
So if you're not looking to drop the big bucks on a head intake and cam package, you could always just do the simple stuff, just do the exhaust. You can do a cold air intake. You could do the Steeda cam. There's also roller rocker options. The 172 rocker options are kind of like a ghost cam for the Fox bodies.
They do. So what that's doing is obviously providing a better mechanical leverage, and therefore you're hanging the valve open more and things like that. So basically you're trying to get a more aggressive cam profile by simply changing your rocker arms.
And it'll give it that nice lope.
So now we got our Fox body riding good, right? It's sitting right. Got rid of some of the squeaks and rattles, got some more horsepower. What's the next thing we could do to the drivetrain that's gonna actually make you excited every time you get in the car?
Well, we have our short throw shifters, and we also have our clutch cable kits. Comes with the cable, the firewall adjuster, and the quadrant.
And now why is that? I've already got a clutch cable and quadrant from the factory. What makes the Steeda one better?
Well, the Steeda one is adjustable. The factory one isn't really as adjustable as ours. The factory one comes with a plastic quadrant underneath there, and the teeth are prone to break. So we got a billet quadrant, the billet firewall adjuster, and then the adjustable cable as well. That way you can get it exactly where it needs to be.
And that's nice, because a lot of these cars, you're adding a heavy duty clutch to it, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're kicking the clutch pedal, shifting those gears, power shifting your T5, that clutch quadrant is flexing, and it might start to break, like you said, because if you still have a mechanical clutch pedal, there's a physical cable, no hydraulics, no slave cylinders. When you have that heavy duty clutch in there, it's going to put a lot of stress on it, and this is going to give you a much more positive feel, and you're going to be able to enjoy your Mustang that much more, because it's going to really feel good going down the road. One of the nice things about the Steeda short throw shifter is not only its billet construction, but its offset spring tension, meaning when you're in second gear and you push forward, it's automatically going to pop into third gear. That was very problematic. I remember back in the days, you always were worried about going and hitting that third gear, but things like the Steeda short throw shifter really make that easier for you. Plus, we have adjustable shift stops. That's going to save those forks in the transmission from bending, flexing, or even breaking on you.
The automatic guys will still have to do the 1-2-1 shuffle.
That's right. One of the next areas of concern is going to be wheels, tires, and brakes. These Fox bodies came with drum brakes in the rear of the car, which made stopping sometimes a little sketchy. So what kind of options do these Fox bodies have for upgrading their brakes?
There are tons of upgrades for the brakes for these cars. You can start off as a beginner just doing something like different pads, the guide sleeves. You could even do a different shoe in the back. You can step up your game, do the SN95 spindle, and go with the Cobra brakes up front, which look really good. You can go with the correct length Fox axles with the bare rear calipers to convert to discs in the back.
Now the front's easy to convert to 5-lug, right?
The front is easy. There's two ways you can convert the front to 5-lug. You can start off by doing just the 5-lug rotor. So it's just simple bolt-on. That way you can get into the 5-lug wheels as a cheaper option. and then do the brakes later on. But one way or another, you're still gonna have to do the axles in the back to get that same 5-lug wheel on the back.
And you've even put a set of, what, Cadillac brakes on one of your Fox bodies?
Yes, on my 84, I put on the ATS calipers. They're not a straight bolt-on, so they're not quite for the beginner, but they do look pretty nice once they're all installed.
So you could go by replacing all of your calipers, rotors, and things like that, or like you mentioned, keep it simple. Caliper guide sleeves, stainless steel brake lines, an upgrade pad or shoe from Hawk. I know that really makes a world of a difference because on the Fox, from the factory, that caliper is kind of floating. It's got some rubber inserts, so it's always moving. Our stainless steel caliper guide sleeves make a world of a difference for that Fox body Mustang. So that would have been a least expensive way to upgrade your brakes, but now wheels and tires. If you go 5-lug, how does that help?
Once you go 5-lug, it'll open up a world of wheels and tire options for your car.
So you mean you won't be stuck on old school drag lights like me?
No.
You can have a lot more options, especially with that 5-lug. Sizes, you're kind of limited to what, 17, maybe an 18?
18s are right on the, like pushing it just a little bit, but don't go 19.
Definitely don't go 19. And in the back, what's one of those things that you can do to get a little bit more wheel and tire clearance in the back of the Mustang?
You can get rid of that quad shock. Once you get some good control arms on there, you don't need it. And then the other thing you need to do is roll that fender.
Just to give you a little bit more room. But yeah, you're right. It comes with a factory shock absorber in the back there. It's called a quad shock. But anytime you bolt on a set of quality upper and lower control arms, you can go ahead and get rid of that quad shock. And the last thing, how do we make this Fox body Mustang our own, Matt?
Well, I would start off by doing something like the headlights, because chances are if you get a Fox body, the headlights are going to be yellow. So one of the best effective ways to make it look better is to put new headlights on it.
And those are available all over the place, right? We've got clear ones, we've got smoked ones, right? A bunch of different options for you in the headlights.
And the prices are good too. You can get them for probably somewhere between $150 and $300 depending on what you get.
So now what's one of those awesome classic looks that just looks so good on a Fox body?
Well, everybody knows Fox bodies look great with the cowl hood.
That's right.
There's several options from 2.5 inch to 4 inch to 6 inch rise. Cobra R, which I got on my car, I think looks pretty good.
You've got the Cobra R hood, and then what did we just get back in stock here recently?
We just got back the Aero Wing. We got 31 of them in stock, and they blew out in 3 days.
So we've got more of those coming in, but it's one of those subtle wings that it doesn't look like the old whale tail where you know it's kind of out of place on the car, but it's just subtle. It's a little bit more aggressive, but it really does clean up and make the back of that car look aggressive, doesn't it?
It does.
Now, one of the things we didn't mention, but you know, you're gonna spend a lot of time when you're driving it, is inside the interior. You've done some really cool things with the interior of your car, from having an iPad on the dash to converting it over with the whole computer system. So what are some things you could do to really help, I don't know, try and step up the game of your Fox body interior?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna be spending time in the car, you might as well enjoy it and be comfortable. You can do simple things like, for beginners, doing the seat upholstery. You can do the front seat upholstery. You can do the rear seat upholstery, which I just did in my 84.
Now, can't you put some of the newer Mustang seats in them also?
If you're creative enough, you can put the S550 seats in there. I got the S550 seats in mine, front and back.
That's cool. Now, are these the power seats or are these the manual seats?
They're the power seats. I had to make my own brackets.
Oh, okay. If you have a Fox body, chances are you're gonna find a way to fabricate a thing or two.
Be prepared to make stuff.
Yes. So you got your Corbeau seats, maybe you updated your seats like out of a new Mustang like you did. What are some of the little things you can do to the interior to freshen it up?
You can do the billet pedal covers.
Okay.
Different shift knobs.
And just about probably any shift knob fits a Fox body.
Yeah, very common thread.
12 millimeter 1.75. The beauty of it is that since the car's been around for so long, there's so many different options. So you could really try to make it your own. And like I said, there's probably not a car on the planet that's been modified in different ways, shapes, or forms than a Fox body Mustang, from Coyote swaps to the dreaded LS swaps. So Fox body is a really good platform for you really to try to create something, you know, special and unique. So to get some people up to speed, Matt, since we got a Fox body audience today, what are you doing with your SVO? Where are you at with that?
All right, I am this close to having it finished off. I got the new rear end in. I got all the upholstery in. I got the suspension on it. I got the brakes on it. The brakes are bled. I got the steering system in. Steering system's bled. The Coyote motor, weather permitting, will be in this weekend.
Now, you got a cool name for this project, right? Because it's an SVO that's getting a Coyote.
Yeah, I was going to call it the SVOD, but people were kind of looking down on that, so I don't really know what
Really? So Gen 1 Coyote in a 1984 Mustang, that's the one that you did the upgrade with the brakes and everything too as well?
Yes.
And you got the OEM paint job redone on it? And what color is that called?
It is called Medium Canyon Red Metallic.
Wow, it's like that copper color, right?
It's like a maroon, like a metallic maroon with a little copper in it.
Okay. Well, that's a cool project. So I'm sure you'll see some pictures in the video section here of this project and how awesome it's going to turn out. So hit like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And remember the most important thing, Steeda, where speed
Matters.